Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our 55 by 25 Summit presented by Acadian Companies. One Acadiana is very excited to host this event, kick off our regional 55 by 25 educational attainment initiative. Although I will say this is just the official kickoff of it. We've been working on this initiative obviously for quite a long time, and we're excited to finally be here at the official kickoff of this initiative. Back at the regional celebration last year, 2018, we issued a challenge to our business community to step up and lead, and they've done that, and we're very appreciative of it. The business community and our educational community both have stepped up, and this initiative is the fruit of that labor, and we're very excited about it, and you'll hear a lot more about it as we go throughout the day. One Acadiana serves nine parishes across South Louisiana, all 9 of which are represented with us here today. Building a consensus across 9 parishes when it comes to education or workforce development is not an easy task. But I will say that every parish has stepped up and agreed to be a part of this initiative. Our vision is to be one of the most high-quality, sought-after regions in the South for enjoying a prosperous career in an ideally family environment. To advance this vision, we work on 3 focus areas at One Acadiana. 3 focus areas that were pointed out to us by our investors and our members. One is economic development. Second is infrastructure. And the third, that goes across both of those first 2, is workforce and education. Today's summit puts a special focus on the workforce and education piece. You'll hear from business leaders, education officials, and students about the economic and moral imperative for increasing educational attainment in the One Acadiana region. We will conclude with a signing ceremony where regional partners, that's all of you in the room here, will have the chance to show your support for our new 55 by 25 educational attainment goal. Our MCs for this summit are One Acadiana's co-chairs for Workforce and Education, Jimmy Bernard of Stuller, and Dr. Natalie Harder of SLCC. And when I talk about leadership and asking our educational community and our business community to step up and lead, there's no better example of it than these 2 people who have put yeoman's work into this initiative. Their leadership has been instrumental in laying the foundation for the 55 by 25 initiative, which we're launching here today. And let me add that we are the only region in the state of Louisiana to take on an initiative at this scale to improve our educational attainment. So I'm very proud of this region. Before I turn it over to Natalie and Jimmy, I want to take time for a few special introductions. We're honored to have educational leaders from across the region joining us today, in addition to Dr. Harder. Dr. Kim Hunter-Reed, Louisiana's Commissioner for Higher Education. Dr. Joe Savoie, President of UL Lafayette. Dr. Bill Crow, Interim Chancellor of LSUE. Judy McCleary and Kylie Schmaltz with SOELA. Representative Nancy Landry, Chair of the House Education Committee. Holly Bofi, Vice President, District 7 member of Bessie. Superintendent Don Aguilar, Lafayette Parish School System. And Dr. Aguilar, congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for your 43 years of service. That's fantastic. Superintendent Darwin Lazard, Evangeline Parish Schools. Superintendent Carrie Laviolette of Erie Parish Schools. Superintendent Jerome Pio, Vermilion Parish Schools. And I apologize if we've left anyone else off the list, but there are other leaders from the education community that are here with us, and we're grateful for your presence. We also have One Acadiana board members and other business leaders, nonprofit leaders, and public officials with us. Thank you all for being with us today. Today's event would not be possible without the special support of our presenting sponsor, Acadian Companies. I'd like to invite Kirk LaCour, Director of the Training Division of Acadian Ambulance Services, the National EMS Academy, to the stage to say a few words and introduce our MCs. Kirk.
Thank you, Mr. Wayman. Good morning, everyone. As Mr. Wayman said, my name is Kirk LaCour. I'm the director of the National EMS Academy, which is the training division of Acadian companies. It's quite an honor and privilege to me to be here representing Acadian Ambulance, just because it's quite a privilege to share the stage and this room today with some of the most innovative and passionate thought leaders and business leaders in Louisiana. Some of you I know personally, some of you I know by reputation alone, and some of you I've met today. But I can tell you that from the ones that I know personally, if every one of you and every one of us exhibits the same passion, dedication, and just commitment to making change, as Dr. Horder, Representative Landry, and the others that I know, this will absolutely be a success. So it's truly my pleasure to be here, and I'm quite humbled to be invited to represent Acadian in this capacity. I can tell you I'm blessed with the opportunity to work for a company that values education. Since its founding, Acadian Ambulance has made education one of its core values. As Acadian's Director of Training or Director of the National EMS Academy, I have the distinct privilege of allowing Acadian to continue its long tradition of promoting education to its employees and the communities that we serve. Many people are unaware Acadian has been a leader in pre-hospital education since the 1970s. Acadian employees worked with the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration and the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians to develop some of the first organized training programs for the EMS industry. The work that Acadian employees did in the early 1970s now sets the foundation for the education that we know today for the EMS profession, which is the National EMS Education Standards. Acadian continues to work with all state and national agencies to set objectives and education standards for the entire industry. Additionally, Acadian and South Louisiana Community College pioneered the use of public-private partnerships to offer education opportunities to students across the state. Our partnership, which has continued for 15 years now, has provided thousands of students the opportunity to earn credentials that qualify them for high-paying careers in healthcare. However, the past is just that. It has only brought us to where we are today. Now we must look to the future. Today's summit is about identifying new strategic initiatives to improve our rate of educational attainment. Reaching the goals and objectives to which we are committing today will require education institutions, businesses, and the citizens of Louisiana to develop new and innovative methodologies and programs for education. I'm proud to say Acadian, through the National EMS Academy and in partnership with SLCC and the Louisiana Community and Technical College System, developed just one example of such an educational offering. Recently, we introduced a new training methodology for the EMS profession. Our new online hybrid EMT and paramedic course offerings will be the first of its kind in the industry. Yes, there are online EMT programs across the nation. However, our program will be the first and only program to utilize cutting-edge education methodologies designed to increase student engagement, improve the students' critical thinking skills, and develop the students' personal responsibility for their education. We expect this new online hybrid training program to not only provide the student with the education necessary to provide high-quality patient care, but also develop the students' critical thinking skills, their sense of personal responsibility, their work ethic, and their commitment to lifelong learning. These are truly exciting times for Acadiana and Louisiana. The 55 by 25 initiative offers us all an opportunity to set the standard for improving educational attainment in our communities and in the state. This initiative breaks new ground for collaboration between businesses and education institutions. We have an opportunity to show leaders of our state that you do not have to choose between being pro-business and pro-education. You can be pro-Louisiana. Through the 55 by 25 initiative, we are taking steps to demonstrate the accomplishments and synergies possible when businesses and education institutions develop a vision that encompasses common goals, objectives, and principles. The cooperation and participation of everyone committing to this initiative is a tangible example of Aristotle's message when he said, "The whole truly is greater than the sum of its parts." Thank you for this opportunity to speak today on behalf of Acadian. We are proud to support 55 by 25, and we look forward to working with each of you to achieve the goals and objectives of this initiative. Now, I'd like to turn the event over to two people that are much smarter and much more well-spoken than me. I'd like to introduce the MCs for today's event, Mr. Jimmy Bernard of Stellar and Dr. Natalie Harder, Chancellor of SLCC. Thank you.
I'm not sure if we should continue the program. That was pretty amazing. So thank you very much. So thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Troy, for the wonderful introduction. It's really an honor to serve as co-chair for One Acadiana's Workforce and Education Committee and co-MC for today's event. I work for Stellar, one of Acadiana's largest private sector employers. I'm the executive director of manufacturing, working with Matt. My fellow co-chair, Dr. Natalie Harder, is the chancellor of SLCC, as I'm sure most of you are aware, one of Acadiana's largest educational institutions. Together, we represent the partnership of education with industry. As we know, partnerships between education and industry are critical to making the wheels of the economy turn.
Speaking of partnerships and alignment, at the beginning of 2018, One Acadiana kicked off a new Workforce and Education Committee, merging the former Workforce Development and Public Education Committees. In kicking off this new committee, we wanted to start by setting a goal to orient our work. To determine the goal, it was important to first articulate the need or the statement of the problem. At the heart of the need is the economic imperative for increased educational attainment in our region. According to the Georgetown Center on Education and the Workforce, by 2020, when is that? Next year, 65% of all jobs will require post-secondary education. And what's more, the center found that 95% of all jobs created since the Great Recession have gone to those with at least some college education.
The economic imperative for increasing educational attainment was reinforced by One Acadiana's target industry strategy, a study completed by nationally recognized economic development consulting firm Garner Economics. That study notes that increasingly the level of education of a community's population is becoming a decisive factor in economic competitiveness. Firms understand the need to operate in economies that offer a sufficient supply of workers that meet or exceed their needs. They also know that the lack of an educated workforce can significantly impact business performance.
In the study, Garner Economics conducted some benchmarking analytics, measuring the Acadiana region against other areas. And I know some of you have heard me say these statistics over and over again, but let them sink in. The level of education of Acadiana's working age population, adults 25 and older, was lower relative to all other areas benchmarked against it. We are 48th in this country in terms of overall educational attainment. And in this state, we are 5th out of 8 regions. Folks, we just cannot let that stand.
Now more than ever, there's a growing sense of urgency to focus on educational attainment. For many years, the blessings of the oil and gas industry, where you could earn a good living without a post-secondary degree, created an environment where higher education was desirable but not really essential. As our regional economy evolves, more of our population will need post-secondary degrees and high-value credentials to equip them for good jobs and good wages.
Recognizing the need to increase the proportion of our population with post-secondary degrees and high-value credentials, we were ready to set a goal and develop an initiative for our committee. The slide on the screen outlines our process at a high level, and we'll talk about that process in a little more detail. In setting the goal, first we wanted to look at the data to get a better sense of where we are as a region and our trend line if nothing changes. Based on the latest census data we looked at, it was estimated that 24.2% of Acadiana residents held an associate degree or higher level This number, however, did not include other high-quality credentials like post-secondary certificates and occupational licenses, like Kirk mentioned, which can be just as valuable as an associate or bachelor's degree. And because we know that our 55 by 25 initiative impacts all of higher education, we are all in the same boat and having to row together if we want to reach our 55 by 25 goal. The Lumina Foundation helped us identify that we have an additional 15% of our working age population that has a high-value non-degree credential, which ultimately means that about 39.2% of the working age adults in Acadiana had earned a credential of value.
But there's good news. The number has been increasing since 2015, when it was at 38.5%. And based on the current trend line, the number will continue increasing to 43.3% by 2025. But we know that we need to improve that track in order to prepare our workforce for the jobs of the future. In looking at goals that other states and regions have set, we have determined that an ambitious yet feasible target for the Acadiana region would be to increase that number to 55% by 2025. That leaves about an 11.7 percentage point gap to close.
With that in mind, we articulated the following vision, goal, and purpose. Our vision is an equitable education system that meets the region's need for talent and offers all Acadiana residents the chance for a better life with increased educational attainment. Our goal is to increase the proportion of working-age adults in Acadiana with post-secondary degrees, certificates, or other high-value credentials to 55% by 2025. And our common purpose is to galvanize business, education, faith, civic, and community leaders and organizations in support of a shared agenda to achieve this goal.
And with such a big goal, which encompasses the full cradle-to-career trajectory, we wanted to identify some key performance indicators or milestones along the way. You can see some of the guiding questions we asked and the key performance indicators we identified on this slide. With these guiding questions and indicators in mind, we built an online dashboard which allows anyone to explore the data with user-friendly, interactive data visualizations. The dashboard will help us better understand the data and track our progress over time. That dashboard, which we're calling the Acadiana Education Dashboard, is online now at oneacadiana.org/education.
To get additional feedback on the goal and on the dashboard, we then began meeting with school district leaders and other stakeholders in all 9 Acadiana parishes. We ultimately met with more than 100 stakeholders. And through the feedback we received, both in those meetings and from a follow-up survey, we identified 4 areas to focus on as a region as we advance the 55 by 25 goal. First is kindergarten readiness. Next, 3rd grade reading, high school to college transition, and finally, credential completion. And you'll hear more about these focus areas later in the program.
In addition to these focus areas, we also identified some guiding principles to follow when undertaking the initiative. The first is we will lead with the voice of the business community. By leading with the voice of the business community, we can elevate 55 by 25 from an education sector initiative only to a cross-sector regional priority.
Second, we will commit to equity. Developing and implementing strategies to increase educational attainment levels must entail closing achievement gaps or the persistent disparity in educational performance among race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status will continue.
Third, we will embrace all meaningful pathways to educational attainment. Career and technical education, apprenticeships, and other short-term credentialing programs all offer meaningful pathways to employment while meeting employer demand for skills that require some education beyond high school, but not necessarily a 4-year degree.
Fourth, we will acknowledge and support programs that advance the goal. Collaborating within a larger community of organizations and programs already focused on education, we will seek additional partners, promote related programs, and advocate for collective success.
And finally, we'll use data to guide our action. Just as we use data to help set our goal, and as we built the Acadiana Education Dashboard, we'll continue to use data to guide our work and measure our progress.
Going back to the first principle, leading with the voice of the business community, it is time for the next segment of today's program, the business case for 55 by 25. We have the honor of hearing from 4 distinguished business leaders on why increasing educational attainment is so critical to our future as a region. These business leaders are Missy Rogers of Noble Plastics, Matt Stoller of Stoller Incorporated, Dr. Kip Schumacher of Schumacher Clinical Partners, and David Calicott of Lafayette General Health. First up is my friend and a Workforce and Education Committee member, Missy Rogers, President of Noble Plastics. Missy is a champion for all meaningful pathways to educational attainment and has engaged with students from across the region through our NEFRA's Career Awareness Program. Please welcome Missy to the stage.
Good morning. So, the business case. We know regionally, as one Acadiana's research has been presented to you this morning, that this is an economic development initiative. But what does it mean to a small manufacturer like Noble Plastics? We make plastic products and robotic systems for other people. I have customers. Not everyone in this room is from the manufacturing sector, but you have customers and clients too. So what is your sales advantage? How do you build and retain a customer base or an employee base? You have to deliver a value. Now, anyone can enter into my industry and with enough money buy the same machines I do, buy the same robots I do. It's the people that make the difference. It's the people. It's the processes. It's their understanding of those processes and their execution of your systems. So development in a workforce is absolutely critical to my sales success because it's the one thing that my competition can't duplicate. It's the one thing that can create a culture within my business and an identity within my industry. So it's not just a small manufacturer, large manufacturers, service providers, products providers. We will all benefit from this. But for me, it's a lot more personal. It's not just the business case. It's not just what will this do to my bottom line? What will this do to my standing in my community? What will this do to my standing in my industry? One of our core values is to help people succeed. Jimmy mentioned that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we were largely a single sector region. And we had to suffer or win with the uniqueness of that industry. We've done a great job diversifying across industries, and yet so many of our population are still limited in their job portability. They're still limited in their opportunities for employment outside of their traditional work skill without an educational level, a component that recognizes their skill. I know many of you in the room are a part of education or government sectors, but it's going to be critical that we engage the manufacturing specifically and industrial partnerships that this initiative calls for, because we have to have a very honest dialogue about what is job portability, what is economic security for your staff. Too many business owners, business leaders, operate from a sense of fear. What if my people achieve these things and want more money? What if my people get these certifications and want to go work for someone else? You might have heard the old chestnut, what if we train them and they leave? What if we don't and they stay? This drives me every day. I must create a culture where my people want to be present, where they want to contribute to an organization, and they bring other people like it. We must move past the fear. We must know that emboldening and equipping our staff improves the capabilities of our companies. And I think part of the message needs to be not what happens if our workforce becomes unstable and leaves our individual companies, but what can it look like on job retention and growth when I have a fully qualified, capable, job-ready population from which to choose new staff. It's something we can all benefit from. Business case, I think we're going to have to do some real hard looks at the culture of business, and we've got to challenge companies much larger than mine to ask those questions. Let's help them provide for their families. Let's help them provide for our businesses and not be afraid to do things differently, because we must, as you see from those numbers, we must change. The time is now. We need to have these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Missy. And I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Matt Stoller, founder and chairman of Stoller Incorporated. The Stoller Family Foundation is working to improve education outcomes across the region and have been doing that for many years. One of the programs they support, for example, is Hope for Opelousas, which empowers families and children in St. Landry Parish. And Matt, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Natalie. And my goodness, it is great to be with all of you this morning. A beautiful day, a beautiful new year, and a very interesting and exciting campaign that we're moving on. So I was asked today to come and chat with you guys a little bit about Stoller and the importance of not only our company, but of our communities here in this wonderful Acadiana area. And I usually like to start out with a joke or a story. Today, I think it's very appropriate for me to give you a quick story to kind of set the stage. This story is something that I don't talk about often, but I think this audience would really appreciate it. I'm going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about no education. I'm going to talk to you about I have a fear. The hair on the back of my neck, even walking into this facility, scares me. I can't even imagine going into a high school. You see, I had a very, very disappointing education through 1st through 12th. In an excellent school, Our Lady of Fatima, a Catholic school here in Lafayette. I, like most, and I will say guys, have many of the same issues, but I had a little bit of steroids with it. Yes, I had and I have ADD. Yes, I am dyslexic. Yeah, I don't know whether I want to do something with my left hand or my right hand. The cool thing is almost failing out of high school and having a fear of going to school, is I decided that my best chance in life was to be able to start working with my hands. I am mechanically inclined. You see, I found what my passion was, and I wanted to excel in that passion, ideally where I did not need to get an education. So I decided that I was going to get a big van, and I was going to go around and I was going to help fix things in people's houses, because I love to serve, I love to wow people, and I love to be able to fix things. Well, I had a great fortune that my sophomore year in high school, I went to work for a local retail jewelry store. And I got to start repairing jewelry. The things that I wanted to do, not on houses and washing machines, but be able to work on beautiful things and set stones and weld and solder and all of the great things that really excited me. And I found that that was where I wanted to go in life. And in education, this is really important to be able to fit the education model to the individual and, more importantly, individual experiences. Because that is how all of us grow. That is why we are what we are, is by the experiences that we have experienced through life, even from a very young child. So I did not go to college. I am so extraordinarily pleased that I do have a doctor's degree in business. Unfortunately, it's honorary. So where are we? What are we doing with this? What does business need? What do educators, like many of you, need to be able to deliver in order to be able to create and make this beautiful music? Well, in business, I can look at it in a very different way, and that is I am looking for champions. Champions will win the day. So what is a champion? A champion, let's talk about an athlete, and then we'll convert that to a business person. An athlete, the only way that individual can become great is by a discipline, because he has passion, he or she has passion. It is the fact that they every day work on being a great athlete. And that's what makes them a great champion. Well, in business today, we have to give the credentials, whatever that may be, to people coming through high school to be able to direct them to what they really want to do. For people like me, a college education, probably just, even if I wanted to, was not in the cards for me. For many, people want to become educated, they want to get into the post-secondary, they want to become doctorates, and that is great as well. And yes, when people come in with their credentials, their resume, and we see that they have a college degree, that they've been certified in a number of areas, and often we either hire them for a different job that we have a job opening for, or that they progress through the stellar job life and get to where they need to be when we do have an opening. So what business looks for today is the fact that we need champions. And it's in champions in all areas. It's the hard skills, it's the soft skills. It is everybody within our talent pool inside of our company, and for many of you in business in your companies, is the fact that we need to have them all thinking, being brilliant, changing the continued landscape of how we operate our businesses. The world is changing, our customers are changing, they're very demanding. We will become a dinosaur in a matter of a year if we don't stay up with that change. And we need to have our entire staff, some 1,250 folks right here in Lafayette, a couple of thousand throughout the world, being able to be leaders, to be passionate, to be able to think outside their box. Today, we just cannot hire anyone that doesn't have a job skill. How they get it, where they need to fit into the organization is crucially important. 55% is a very, very big goal, comparatively, certainly to see where we have been. We need great, great schools in junior and high schools. My God, we need tech schools, we need colleges, but most importantly, we need to direct all of these young people in the areas where they can have successful careers, whatever that may be. I'm proud to be with you guys today. I'm very proud of our university, and particularly one Acadiana. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much, Matt. Next, we'd like to welcome Dr. Kip Schumacher, founder and executive chairman of Schumacher Clinical Partners. The Schumacher Family Foundation is providing philanthropic resources to support programs like the Leader in Me schools across the region and tutoring services in the LPSS Transformation Zone. Education is certainly something that foundation has been focused on. Dr. Schumacher, the stage is yours.
When we started Schumacher Clinical Partners in 1994, our intention was to provide continuous and improving quality care to patients and make sure they were treated with dignity and respect. And we also realized that we had to develop systems so we could scale that service, and had the intention of going out and providing that service to emergency departments all over the country. Little did we know how successful we were going to be. And little did we know what that really meant. What did it mean to see 8.5 million patients a year? What was involved in developing a business like that? What was involved in supporting 1,000 employees? What was involved in supporting providers, 8,000 providers to take care of patients? And so I was really lucky because I was from Acadiana. And not only did we have a pool of people to get started that were skilled, but they were also people that had the right philosophical approach to what I think healthcare is about. Healthcare is about making sure you treat the patient with dignity and respect and you put the patient first. And you know what? Acadiana is how we developed the culture that we developed. So I can tell you, I don't think we would have been as successful if I had started this business anywhere else. And so I feel great gratitude, and I feel like I owe Acadiana a lot because of their contribution to that success. So with that said, the problem was that as we grew, it didn't take long for us to outgrow the human resource support that we needed to be able to be successful. And so we had to start opening satellite offices, not only all over the country, but all over the world. We ended up having 3 offices in India before, so with help support us. And so about, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago, I was introduced to a population group that I think most of you probably know about, the LUS population group, that was defined in a report from the United Way. And that population group was a group of people who don't make enough to meet the basic needs that you and I think are what a family should have. And it's a population group that was above the poverty level, and not only any government services, but literally for one disaster, one minor incident away from a financial disaster, like an automobile repair bill, or an illness that lasted for a couple of weeks and the breadwinner was out of a job. You know, so what I realized was, after I learned more about this LUS group, was that I believe that Acadiana and also Schumacher Clinical Partners had missed a huge opportunity. We didn't have to open all those satellite offices. We had people here in Acadiana that were ready and primed and, you know, had initiative. They were the ones that literally were fighting day in and day out just to be part of the American dream. And they were there ready to be developed, and we didn't have a system to do that. So I've always kind of regretted that. I look back and realized that we had opportunities that we missed. So over the last couple of years, I've really been spending a lot of time trying to figure out what do we need to do to give back to the community. And I was lucky enough to have met Matt Stoller and Nick Pugh. And these guys have been involved in this for many years, trying to figure out where to put the resources and, you know, what do you do to really reform the system to make a difference. And so I was relieved to realize that I had the right approach and that I was on at least the right path to transform the community. And we started working together on some projects like Leader in Me, and a number, I'm sure many of you are aware of that program. It's a program to teach the teachers how to teach kids not just to learn, but to manage their education. Teach kids to be leaders so that they weren't just, you know, managing a successful education, but also learning how to live a successful life. We also realized that kids without the proper tools were less likely to be successful, so we started investing in some tutoring programs in the emerging schools to give kids with the greatest need an opportunity, more of an opportunity to be successful. And we also realized that leadership in any institution is really important. If you get the right leadership, then good things happen. And so we started investing in leadership programs in the different school systems in Acadiana also. But all of those things we realized were really foundational. They were just basic and wouldn't have the same kind of transformational impact if we didn't do something to look at this from a comprehensive standpoint and integrate it into workforce development. And so that's why I'm excited about 5525, is I believe that the investments we've already made are going to have more value and ultimately give more people a chance to live a good life. And isn't that what we should be doing in education, is teaching people how to live a good life and giving them the tools to do that? So anyway, I want to thank everybody here for being part of this, and I'm really looking forward to grand things from One Acadiana and the group. Thank you.
introduce Dr. David Calicott, our next speaker. David Calicott has been a great leader in our community. He's also significantly led Lafayette General Health to support the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, SLCC, and LSUE, and a number of healthcare fields as we work to develop the workforce together. And we just all appreciate your support, and the stage is yours.
Well, first I have to say that if I am a doctor, it is in fact honorary. Thank you, Natalie. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today, and certainly to share about Lafayette General. And certainly, as you think about Lafayette General, many of you know us, but what you might not know is that we are by far the largest private, non-governmental employer from the basin to the Texas border. We have 5,600 employees in our company in the 7 hospitals that we own, and we manage a couple other hospitals. So when you look at the economic benefit, or you look at the economic impact we have, it's over $1 billion a year of healthcare being provided through Lafayette General and our partnerships. We have a tremendous need, certainly for a skilled workforce, but we also have a tremendous need for a workforce that matches the culture that we've developed. Part of our growth has been because of the culture and our top decile performance in patient, employee, and physician satisfaction. And so we're focused on purpose, worthwhile work, and making a difference with our employee group. And certainly, as Matt talked about, a very important piece of that is worthwhile work, and that we've identified the areas where someone can really thrive. We have a lot of traditional partnerships that you can think of for healthcare, through UL, through LSU, through SLCC, where we partner for clinical training for nurses and other areas. Our most notable public-private partnership is our partnership with LSU and our partnership with University Hospital and Clinics, where we educate doctors. And we have 2 of our institutions that are major teaching hospitals, at UHC and also at Lafayette General. So from a higher end perspective, we're very invested in that. But more importantly, why I'm here today is to really share with everyone the how of this 55 to 20 by 25 project. How do you do it? And I want to focus in on a partnership that we've been in for the last couple of years with LSU Eunice. So LSUE had a desire to expand programs in their associate degree of nursing and in developing a surgical technologist program. And at the same time, we had an opportunity where we had acquired a hospital from HCA, the former Southwest Hospital, that we now call Lafayette General Orthopedic Hospital. And in developing that campus, we also acquired a medical office building. And so at a time where LSUE wanted to expand, we also had the opportunity that we had office space, and we had the ability to kind of relook at how we were deploying our resources. So what we're able to do in our partnership with LSUE is look at the assets we have, offer them space, donating that space, deferring their cost, enabling them to bring programs that we desperately needed to educate staff. We have tremendous needs for nursing, and we have tremendous needs for surgical techs. We invested another $400,000 in the renovation of that space. It was announced just a couple days ago in the paper that you could see the investment that was made, including sim labs and training labs at our LG Ortho campus. And in 2 years, we have grown the program significantly. We actually, in December, graduated the first group of associate degree in nursing students. We had 15 graduates in the first class. We now have 52 nursing students enrolled at LG Ortho. But more importantly, I want to focus in on the surgical training program. Surgical techs are so important. You may not know this, but they're so important to you, each and every one of you. We serve as the trauma center for Southwest Louisiana. So everything from the basin to the border up to DeRidder. If you're in a trauma situation, you're brought to Lafayette General. And in order to deal with that trauma, we need nurses and we certainly need doctors, but more importantly, we also need surgical techs to do those cases. And so from not having a program, we have went to where we anticipate graduating our first 9 graduates from that program in May of this year. We actually have 20 new students enrolled in the program that will graduate in 2020. And the interest level in this program has just been astounding. And so you might think, well how does this, or why does this matter? Well, this is a certification program that folks can go through that they may be in a job that is not matching their skill set, their intellectual level, and go through the certification program, and when they finish, have a job where when you combine their base pay, their call pay, that they make over $40,000 a year. And we need these people. And when you look at the partnership that we created, this public-private partnership with LSUE, it's just one example of what we in business can do to help people reach their highest potential. And that's really what this is all about. When I think about Lafayette General and our mission, it's to restore, maintain, and improve health. And so much of that is dependent on the social determinants that are in that person's life. Their housing, their food security, those type of things. Our ability to partner with educational institutions throughout our community to enable people to reach their highest potential, to get into these jobs that we so need and they so deserve, is our highest priority. And it's our honor to be a partner in this initiative, and we certainly want to be there to provide guidance and direction to other institutions that might want to look at partnerships. And again, thank you all for your interest, and thank you for the opportunity to address this group today.